रहे हैं, हम धीरे 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 पागल हो रहे हैं। आसमां में जैसे बादल हो रहे हैं, हम धीरे 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 पागल हो रहे हैं। मैं तो मर जाना है, वो ना जो मिलने आए, मैं तो मर जाना।
Over 100 billion people in India. It's one of the world's most diverse groups of people. India is a place like no other, with music everywhere you go, different languages, and different groups of people. And don't forget about the busy streets. India has its own unique way of life. And today, that's where I take you, on the journey of India. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, because I take you to the world of India.
You know, India is a very vast country with very many different cultures within it and customs within it. And in terms of food, there's many, many different cuisines. But in general, I think what you will see as being very different from American cuisine is that there's a use of a lot of different spices. Not all Indian food is necessarily hot, spicy hot, but we certainly use a lot of different kinds of peppers in our food, but there's a range of different spices, so you can kind of get a sense. South Indian food is generally hotter, and it's not as rich in terms of use of cream and dairy in it, so it's lighter. North Indian food, on the other hand, is heavier because of the use of different kinds of cream sauces, involved use of nuts and raisins, plums, the fruits within it. So it's a mixture of sweet and spice sometimes, and it's very similar to Northwest cuisine.
I mean, with my grandma, she, when she's in India, she actually has the milkman come to her house, and then she also makes her own yogurt. So she puts milk in a pot and basically boils it to the point where it she lets it sit for a while, and then it turns into yogurt. Curries and masalas, naan is huge. Bread with garlic, that's really big. Rices.
The east of India, in Bengal, there's a lot, because India is a peninsula, there's a lot of seafood on the east coast and the west coast of India. And Bengal, where Calcutta is, has different spices in it. They typically use a lot of mustard oil, as it is the case in Punjab. On the west coast of India, you have Gujarat with a lot of different kinds of snacks. Rajasthan and Gujarat have a lot of different kinds of snacks. The cuisine from India is very, very varied. There's a use of different grains, particularly wheat, rice. South of India has a lot of rice. The north of India has a lot of wheat. There's other grains that are used as well, particularly millet and sorghum. Just a wide variety.
Could you tell me about clothing and how clothing is different?
The world has shrunk, so you certainly have a lot of global impact. And what I'm wearing here is sort of a mix of East and West. I have this on the outside, which is like a kameez, but I'm wearing it with Western boots, and I'm wearing it with a shorter blouse, whereas typically in India you might have a longer blouse and either loose pants or tighter pants. And that's sort of a universal North Indian, dress for women.
All handmade, thin, very colorful, very warm colors, very loose and fitting.
Traditional Indian garb can be a sari for women, which is a long piece of cloth, about 6 yards usually, 5.5 to 6 yards, that's draped with pleats on the front, and then a part that goes over the shoulder. For men, since we had British rule, we've kind of got British attire, so wearing shirt and trousers or a suit is very common for formal occasions. However, the Indian outfit for men would be somewhat similar here in that they would have a long coat and then wear these tighter pants and then special leather footwear.
Could you tell me a little bit about the transportation in India?
We have a wide variety of transportation in use, and you may still see horse-drawn carriages. You may still see bullock carts where there's bulls or cows pulling carts in the villages.
In India, they drive rickshaws, which are like three-wheeled cars. They drive a lot of motorcycles. They don't actually really have too many street signs or those like stop signs, stoplights. So they kind of do a yielding system pretty much where they'll just be in the country. There's nothing really, no road signs, not much.
A lot of buses and trains in use transporting people across just with their day-to-day commutes, as well as transporting from one part of the country to another part.
Could you tell me a little bit about education?
In India, the education is different from America in that we have a 10+2+3 system, which is 10 years of school, and then we have 2 years of what we call junior college.
But at the same time, perhaps that makes the Indian student someone who's really good at doing routine things in a very disciplined way, doing a lot of hard work, but whether it can actually create original thinkers, that remains to be, questioned.
It's just so vital, and the kids are so kind of passionate about sharing their education with them. And the street kids like here, they're passionate about learning. Just their eagerness to do better. I mean, the little girl who was teaching the other kids was 13 or 14, and her English was fantastic, and she wants to be a physicist. In this environment, she wants to be a physicist. It's not, the ambitions and the dreams, they aren't about being a pop star, or they're not about kind of being a glamour model. They're really tangible.
Decision fairly early in India after your 10 years of schooling, and as you're doing your 11th and 12th grade, you've kind of already starting to pick your paths in terms of whether you want to go into the arts or the sciences or business and commerce. And in the rural areas in India, most children will, try to get, or families will try for their children to get through to 10th grade. But depending on the conditions, children may not necessarily finish school because they do have to help their families in terms of income, and that means working in the field.
Could you tell me a little bit about Indian weddings?
So majority are Hindu, so I can certainly speak from a Hindu standpoint. In terms of weddings, it's a time for families to get together, and if families dispersed across the country, then travel takes time, and so typically the Hindu weddings will go on for about a 3 to 5 day period. Not all of that's the wedding ceremony itself, but there's a lot working up to the wedding, and then there's some that occurs after the wedding, a reception that usually involves a lot of friends as well. Well, it depends again where you're from, but in the northern India, custom for a wedding typically will involve the Baraat, which is a party that welcomes the groom, and the groom will come in on a horse, and there's a lot of music, dance, and drums as they approach, and the wedding party then welcomes the groom into the bride's house or family, and then they proceed into the wedding venue and go on with the different rituals, for the wedding. In the Hindu wedding, fire is a very essential part, and fire, the Agni, the god of fire, is one where the couple will go around the fire and they take different steps, and with each step take different vows together. And the wedding process is not just a union of the couple, but really coming together of the two families. What's very different with the Indian weddings that you may have heard here is that many weddings are arranged, or marriages are arranged, and what that means is that the opportunity for the couple to meet is arranged between families. In India, unfortunately, there still is a system of dowry, which is a way of surety or security for the bride, and so the bride's family will generally, give the groom or give the couple and the groom's family a certain amount of either money, or it's either in cash or kind, signifying the alliance. This is a system that is one that the government's trying very, very hard to get rid of, but it still exists, particularly in the rural areas.
मैं तो मर जाना है वो ना जो मिलने आए मैं तो मर जाना है वो ना जो मिलने आए सांसें मेरी हैं उनके हाथों में याद पिया
India is one of those places that make you in awe every time you go. It's one of those places that have a unique sense of learning, a unique sense of culture, and a unique sense of the world around you. There's so much more that we could have talked about today, but today we talked about a little. And maybe if you ever get the opportunity to go, you'll see the joys and the beauties that India has.
आसमां में जैसे बादल हो रहे हैं हम धीरे 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 पागल हो रहे